no more than 2 years, I'm sure. You know,
And we have an express branch. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So, wasn't that? It was.
Really?
Yeah, wasn't even the client.
everybody turn your microphones on, please.
Do you have to stop whining
Let's go in. Okay, the time is 5 o'clock, and I'll open the October 7th, 2025 meeting of the zoning board of appeals. We have one item on the agenda, it's a public hearing. So I'll open the public hearing, and I know we have Molly Fernandez, is that right? Representing her mom, for any questions, or we did get a little bit more information in the meantime. Is there there's nothing else you want to add, right, Molly?
Well, my mom actually said one thing that has been adjusted. She originally thought it was going to be on slab, but it will actually be on crushed stone instead. That is the only thing that
Yes,
is different from the material she had.
thank you. So crushed stone rather than slab. I don't think that makes any difference to any of the boards, right? Chris?
No.
All right.
It will be a fixed then, if it's just on crushed stone, or is it
I
sitting on
understand the
top of
question,
it?
is that going to
Thank
be
you.
that fixed structure?
Well,
Yeah.
It still counts as a
I would
structure.
imagine it's anchored in some way, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, even a fence is a structure, so.
But if it's, but I thought by definition, it had to be affixed to the ground somehow.
Yeah, I think it does, but I think that, I would imagine there's some anchoring. Look at this,
I do not know about your.
This is just
we're pretty
sitting
far into
outside.
the process, so.
There's kind of a rash of people jumping gravel and.
But if it's on there, it needs to be moved.
Exactly, it's not a permanent structure.
Have a shed on a slab of cement and be not fixed. I mean,
Yeah, you can move it anyway. I don't think that's our problem.
Yeah.
In other words, okay, so like parking in the setback. Well, okay, your required parking spot can't be in setback. But we're not gonna send the CEO around if, you know, your kid comes over and parks his car in the setback. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
So the variance is for the specific siting of the shed. You know, if the shed moves, if it's blown up or something like that, you can say, well, legally it can only be there. And the important thing is if the house sells to somebody else, it's all clear and documented that the somebody else can only build on that specific place where they gave the variance.
Understand that.
So we're not, I don't think we're in a position to go in and see if it's moved.
I was thinking more that it was jurisdiction, like if it's not attached, do we even have any say over it?
Well,
Oh, you're going down the rabbit hole.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely.
I remember somebody told me before I came to my house, when I was building the shed, they said, well, you don't put it on something that's current to the ground, it's not considered a structure.
here's
Yeah, but who
the,
told
here's
you?
the definition. Anything constructed or erected with a fixed location on the ground or attached to something having a fixed location on the ground.
So it doesn't have to be one thing.
I'm saying it's a fixed location and it's erected. It doesn't, I mean,
I'm fine with it. That seems right to me.
yeah. I don't know. We're in this process and we might as well finish this process.
Okay, we want to, it's a pre-built, it's pre-built also.
This is
I
how-
can't imagine that a pre-built thing is gonna have something that's somewhere.
But originally it was going to be on concrete, so then it'd be attached to the concrete. but-
How would it be attached to the concrete?
You just had it right in.
Yeah.
You know, right.
Well, you could.
Or you could nail, you could
Why
put
not?
something into the ground, into the ground.
Well, that was my question, like, what fixed it seemed like a change from what we were originally talking about. But I'll stand down.
We all recognize
The one thing I
it is a
remember.
structure, it's a little house.
Yeah.
However, it's a fix, but I mean, look at it, some of these stone houses, it's just gravity holding them down. Technically say they're not, affixed to the ground, and so can we build those anywhere? I mean, I think there's a point that we just say, that thing with a roof that's 6 feet tall, we can safely call a structure.
I'll argue anymore, but I'll say something.
All right, so we have the definition shows the location and the neighbor, who I assume is maybe 2 houses down, 7 West Street. Do you know which one that is?
Do you know who lives there?
Road and support, Bob Lennon.
Oh, yeah, wow, okay, yeah, that's 2 houses down.
Okay, so he wrote in support, I'll read that. Note for the file, to the village zoning officer and all other interested parties regarding caption matter, which is proposed variance at 11 West Ridge Road. Please be advised that I fully support the request for a variance at 11 West Ridge Road. Furthermore, it should be known that the recent upgrades and renovations on that property have not only enhanced the beauty of West Ridge Road, but have added to the overall enrichment of the village as a whole. I heartily encourage the board to approve the present application. Thank you for your attention to this matter, very truly yours, Lennox owner, 7 West Ridge Road. That's good.
That's a very nice building.
So we also will go through in this process the criteria, and that's, Meg never submitted any responses to that, right?
No,
So we'll do that in a minute. Can I formally open the public hearing?
Yes.
Okay. Right, so there's no public comment. Is there anyone who has any questions?
We said something about it was in trust, but it's coming out of trust.
Yes, we
And
have,
she's going to provide documentation with it.
It-
Did that?
it's in our packet, yeah.
But we have that, okay, well, I can look at the packet, I'm sorry.
Maybe there's
And the height of the shed is going to be supplied to us, you can get that. Or according to the minutes, the height of the shed is going to be coming to us.
Can you give us a height to the shed? It's 8 by 10.
It's 8 by 10? Oh, okay.
That's
Originally
the-
it was
that's
10
the-
by 10.
That's the footprint.
But the footprint is
Oh, wait,
8
I'm
by
sorry,
10.
there's two kind of circle here. Maybe 8 by 12. You know which one it is? Let me see what it says on that. Hang on. You want to come interpret this for me, Molly?
Sure, I can try. Sorry, I didn't get a chance to see anything, because she like hand delivered it. I was like, you want to do something?
You think it's that one, or you think it's?
Although this one says a word on it, so I would think this one.
All right, so we will take it as the 8 by 12 foot one. And we don't know height, but it certainly looks like to the peak of the roof, it's certainly no higher than 12 feet.
I think it's okay.
All right, let's go through the criteria.
Can I ask a question?
she did, I'm sorry, she did email me in our conversation. She said that I believe 6 feet at the peak.
Oh.
Oh, that's hard to believe.
I know, that's, I mean, I guess it's a tiny little shed, but that's,
That's very odd.
um,
My stepdad is over 6 feet tall, so that's like,
It's a she shed.
yeah, it's like,
oh, no, I'm sorry. I take that all back. The text wrapped around and it was, sorry, it's 10'6".
okay, that
I
sounds
was
better.
tipped off. That
10
makes so
foot
much
6
more
to the
sense.
peak, you're saying?
Yes. Sorry.
Okay. All right. So 8 by 12 by 10 feet 6 to the peak. Any other questions before we go through the criteria?
Okay, yeah, I have a question. First off, we were talking before 10 by 10, which means it's going to be 10 feet from the property line, right? Well, if it's 8 by 12, does the orientation change? And so it'll be 12 feet from the property line, or it'll be 8 feet from the property line?
I think we're gonna still stick with the 10 feet from the property line, and we'll just have to orient it to maintain it, unless you know something different.
See, they have a door on the lawn, but I guess the door doesn't have to face the house.
But it,
No, I'm just-
functionally, it would
Yeah.
make more sense.
I mean, it does make it, I mean, it doesn't matter to me, I'm 10 feet from the property line, but if it's 12 feet and going into that, yeah, it's either they only need 8 feet of relief, or they need 12 feet. Do you see what I mean?
Was the setback 20 feet?
What is the, yeah, here's the other thing, it's one of these, average depth, just tell me, give me a minute here. Right,
Okay. 20 feet, or 30 feet, which is much less. 20% of the lot width
of the other lots, and that doesn't come into effect in this
Okay,
case.
so it's 20% of the lot, just give me a number.
What is the lot width though? It would certainly be less than,
It was based on the average of the other,
that's from the front, not from the side. The front setback. Works that way.
right. Let me see, I look at notes on this. Yes, I remember because when we first go up the hill, the property where we put a window, it's very far setback. And that is calculated in, right? If the average front yard setback was less, then they could have that. But because I forgot the name of the Hayford's house, the Scott Hayford's house on Escalade. So the first one you see, and that's within that same block. So as far as calculating front yard depths, that one is part of the calculation, and it's way set back. So it doesn't make it that the average of the houses are closer, and thus the shed unit is closer. They have to revise by the law because the average distance from the road is further, which is a little surprising, but it only is because that one house is so far back.
Right. So the, I thought it was the minutes, so did we determine that there was a front setback variance required also, or just a side setback?
No, there wasn't, but in trying to determine where the shed needs to be in the front yard, the law says you can have it at a different location if the average distance from the road. And I checked that, and the average distance of the other houses is such that it doesn't affect it. They just have to abide.
So it's at least 50 feet is what you're
At
saying?
least, yeah.
Okay, all right. So then the side yard setback is 35 feet or 20% of the lot width. 20%, okay. You want to look on that tax
I
map
checked that one
and
too.
get a
I think
rough
it was-
idea of what
it
the lot
was-
width is?
Sorry, I read the calculations especially here. Let's see.
This is the side, right? This is the side.
Yeah,
property line.
it is, but this is,
This is the side yard setback.
right, but this is the side that they're gonna put the shed on.
Well, this is not a building, this is not a property, all of that's.
Yeah,
Okay.
this is the new York garage, that's the house.
Is this the house?
These properties are all built down here on Lake Street.
Okay, so where's
This shed, she's, because it's kind of a star there.
Is
It's on that, it's between here and the side road.
Oh, I thought the other thing was the shed.
Yeah, it's
Where
about
that-
that.
Yeah.
No.
So this is your property line, here you go.
Right,
So what's that supposed to be?
you know what the width of the property is?
I remember doing this when I was first in it. So do I did the math, and I had it all up. I was looking for a never shit.
Okay.
Like my creation, I didn't spot. So, also the wording of fresh.
Yeah, it's weird up there. The properties without.
So I recall that, yeah, there was no change. By doing the average, it
Okay,
doesn't help us in either case. And I thought maybe I can email it.
Look at the star in the shed.
so then the front, even the front, or I'm sorry, on the side it doesn't help, so we're dealing with the
So this is the side.
requirement, and it's 35 feet.
I believe I'll double check. I remember.
And that's somebody else's lot.
Right.
Okay. And that-
Then that's a funny shape, it kind of jogs back, so
Right.
But maybe it belongs to these.
this is easier to understand here, the area.
Yes, that's what she has,
Yeah.
right, yeah,
I just
okay.
wanted to make sure I was.
So this is the side, this is the line we're figured out.
Exactly,
Okay, so what is it supposed to be? Like,
that's what we're waiting. I
Um,
mean, the max is 30,
This,
35,
the orientation is this, is so you just, yeah, like the front, back, the
yeah.
front, the side.
It's a very, it's an unusual set, but it's actually, this road basically dead
I
ends right
know,
here.
I know. I mean, when I first saw it, when they were building the garage, I guess, you know, I wasn't sure,
Mhm.
yeah, what was the front door, what was the.
Okay.
Yeah,
She says here that the shed will be 10 feet from the property line.
Right,
And this property line.
yeah, we're just trying to be.
But
clear
what
about
is,
what
you know,
the-
when you're
what
in
the
R1, the setbacks,
are very large.
yeah, and they're figured out percentage of lot size, and you do in your thing, it's
The assessment map.
it's like R2, it's 10 feet.
It's 100 feet here.
Oh, okay.
I have the assessment map showing the lot width.
Thank you.
So this
So
is,
it's 100 feet and then 109 feet plus 30, so it's 239 feet wide.
Okay, so this little jump is
So 20% of that is.
and this, and,
6%.
He said, plus the city.
oh, where's the 30?
That little shot that.
Oh, okay, this little thing is 30 then. So.
I guess it's technically it's 47.8 feet, 20% of 239.
Okay. I mean, it's an unusual, it's not a regular rectangular lot too, so I can even imagine you could just take it from that front section before it steps and gets bigger. But in any case, there's a variance required.
Yeah.
So, and variance will never be more than 35 feet. Because what you're coming up with is a number higher than 35.
Yes.
Okay, so we'll work with 35 as the side setback and deal with the variance as an exception to that.
Yep.
Okay,
so she's doing it, all right, one thing more from the Midwest. The setback is 35 feet,
right.
okay? But, I mean, the house is in the setback. Now, is that what we're
Yeah,
saying?
yeah,
Okay, all right, so I got that part, right?
right.
That's the.
So when the house is completely in the setback, and she's gonna build a little something there, what's the relief? What's the motion that I'm making?
Well, I mean, the request is for to build it 10 feet from the property line. So it's 25 feet less than the requirement.
Okay. But there's not even 25 feet there, okay,
I know.
all right,
So
okay.
the whole lot is, the whole development is not conforming.
Okay.
But before we get to the motion, we're gonna go through the area variance criteria. Everybody ready for that? If you have anything to add to these?
I'm not even sure where she's putting the shed, so I'm kind of curious to see the map. Because it is,
Come on.
I think she is at the end of a dead-end road.
You won't
And so I
see it.
imagine it's like the property you're looking at is either the Phillips or it's that.
It's over this side.
I think it's.
Okay, so it comes, this
It's in
is
the
the
back row.
property, yeah, and this is a really steep hill. So it's just, they own this weird little landing up at the top of the hill.
Yeah.
They have beautiful ferns over there that we admire from their yard. Okay, gotcha. So yeah, it's kind of right at the end of the house, and this is like totally dead grass because it's in the shade of the house. So I imagine that's why they're doing it
And
there.
I would say it's not visible from any public right of way.
No, it's
I mean, not from Lake Street, even in the winter, I would think it's.
No, and there's a little
On that
fence
street.
here too, so, yeah, we would be able to see that.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. That helps
And
me.
all the neighbors got notice and nobody called with questions or
Nobody had.
concerns. Okay. All right, so in making our determination, we take into consideration the benefit to the applicant if the variance is granted, weighed against the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community by such variance. In making such determination, we also consider, first, whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or detriment to nearby properties will be created by the granting of the area variance. Does anybody see any undesirable change?
No.
Okay, we're going to see one, it's a small shed and it will not be visible from any public right of way. Second, whether the benefit sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance.
This could be put up the hill, but That seems a little
The
unreasonable.
hill is like this, there can't be very many places you can even set it.
Yeah.
She could put it in the living room too.
Yeah.
It's in the setback already.
It's such a challenging lot, I think it's,
That's about four.
I can't suggest any better spot. Anyone else have any other thoughts?
No.
Okay, whether the requested area variance is substantial. It is for 10 feet rather than 35 feet, but it's also for only a 12-foot distance for a very long property line on the side yard. So it's not anything substantial that I would consider problematic. Whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district. No. Okay, and whether it was self-created, which consideration shall be relevant but not necessarily preclude our granting of variance. As we always say, firstly, all variance requests are self-created because the law existed. So it is, but it's not anything that is unreasonable or, that I personally object to, I guess. Any other comments, questions? Okay, the time is 5:23. I'll close the public hearing and motion, whoever wants to make a motion.
All right, I'll make a motion to grant a area variance to 11 West Ridge Road for the construction of a 8 by 12 foot shed, 10 feet from the side property line, with the note that is not visible to any public road. The house is already in the setback, making it already a non-conforming lot.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Maybe I should read that back for us.
Marcy made the motion to grant an area variance to 11 West Ridge Road for the construction of an 8 by 12 shed, 10 feet from the side property line, with the note that it is not visible from any public road. The house is already in the setback, making it a non-conforming lot.
Okay. All right. All in favor? 5 in favor. There were no opposed. All right. Good.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. The other thing I want to just kind of feedback on, and I can see things I can improve too, but there's the zoning work group is trying to add additional kind of forms to assist applicants to provide kind of most helpful information and minimal level of information for boards in order to review applications. And the one that seems to me would be most helpful for the zoning board would be more specifics on what people need, information people need to provide for area variances. That is the bulk of what we do. There would be another form on special permits, and I don't remember exactly how that.
This is the first one, right?
I think it's attached
Yeah.
to the minutes.
Okay.
I apologize. So my thought here was really, for me, the thing that is most challenging with an area variance, because it's always a setback issue, is having varying degrees of confidence that the property line location is very accurately known. Because if we're going to give a setback, to allow someone to build 4 feet, and the property line is off by 2 feet, what have we done? You know? So I think, and I know that that's a, you know, it certainly is expensive to get a survey, that would be the ideal thing to do. But it's also possible, I think, to do a little work and try to locate property lines, or look at your deed and find dimensions and determine as accurately as possible where that property line is. And I want that burden to be on the applicant, not on us to kind of guess things.
What proof would you need from the applicant?
Well, certainly a survey would always be accepted. But, you know, if somebody can find pins, or if the adjacent neighbor has a survey, and you can work off that information.
Even if you find pins, doesn't necessarily mean that the pins are accurate. Or it doesn't mean that your property in the deed is accurate to the markers and the pins and that.
But which would rule? I mean, yeah, it should. I mean, certainly you see times when there's several sets of pins 6 inches apart. So there is, you know, that degree of potential inaccuracy, but I'm not concerned about that degree of inaccuracy. I'm concerned about multiple feet of inaccuracies.
I know the county, on real property tax now has a bunch of tools and aerial photographs that might be
Yeah.
a helpful thing. I don't know how
It
accurate
really
it
is
is.
not. I mean, the satellite photo is just applied to the technically correct grid map, but that photo is always at an angle, it's always off.
So,
Yes.
so that doesn't really.
It's helpful you to general idea, but
Yeah, I think it's a starting.
Is that what this is?
I would never, yes, probably.
Yeah.
I would never rely on it. I mean, when you look at those, you can oftentimes see that maybe it's because of the distortion of the angle, but, you know, where you would expect to be, you know, something, you can kind of just see property lines are like shifted a few feet or whatever up and down the street, or, you know.
yeah, it's not the kind of tool to use.
Yeah, it's helpful, but not accurate necessarily.
With the opposition from a neighbor, from a neighboring, if you're talking about property disputes, property lines.
Right.
If the neighbors don't oppose it after notice. I don't know.
What is it, what?
If
After notice?
yeah, after notice, like, no one came in here objecting, as long as they have notice. I don't know. I don't agree that it's so cut and dry, these property lines. I think, like, for instance, our deed is all over the place. And you don't know, like, they're supposed to take so many feet from the center of the line, center of the road, to go back to this pin. Well, the road's changed, and who knows who took this, these measurements, 100 years ago.
Yeah.
Without a survey, and the survey.
Surveys, best, and a lot of times, we do have surveys. I mean, in a lot of cases, it's not really contentious. Like here, it's great that we want to make sure she's 10 feet from the property line, but if she was an inch or two over, there's not even a neighbor within,
Right.
But if you've got people closer together where it really matters, those few inches, then I think in such cases, we should really look for a survey and not to say we're casual about the other ones, but we don't have to be as microscopically exacting when there isn't so much at stake. Right?
It's not, all right.
I don't know.
You know what? That's why they have suits. I mean, if you're looking for one survey, you're gonna get 3 other surveys, and then they're gonna go to court, you're gonna have people determining, a judge determining which survey is correct, which is not correct.
At our level, all we can do is rely on the surveys and trust them.
That's evidence.
Yeah.
On-site verification.
So I just know that I feel like we've regularly gotten applications where, it might be plus or minus 2 feet or something, which, like, my property is 50 feet wide. 2 feet makes a difference. If you had a big property, you know, it's unlikely to be a dispute or anyone would care. But, you know, or like, and I would assume there's a lot of fences that go up, doesn't come to our board at all, just goes to HR, but it's pretty important that that fence be on the property of whoever's building it.
Right.
We don't really have any safeguard in our law. It's really up to the property owner to kind of assume that responsibility and risk. And I don't know how many of them go through, I don't know what process they go through to decide exactly where to locate the fence.
I mean, we do the same thing here, we just try to establish the property line. Or, I think it seems like it doesn't seem to be a problem, there's a clear definition, it's just a driveway, and most of those, this is so clear, it's not a problem, mostly it has been, I think. I hear what you're saying, that if somebody wants to say like, put a fence a foot or two over my neighbor's property line, and then it got established that way, and everyone just thought that that's the property line forever. Then such things should be remembered. But do I go and check a survey based on what it looks like an existing property line and measure it out? I don't. I just do my best.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what like in this variance that we just gave, you know, it says 10 feet from the property line. If the property line's not properly located, but we feet from it, and somebody builds 10 feet from a false property line, then then what is, that's not what we granted, you know, we have a right to kind of have them remove it, I suppose, but certainly it'd be a gigantic, problem to kind of even contemplate that route. So we want to understand as accurately as we can.
Right. And I think we do, there's only, honestly, I have a certain amount of time and resources to devote to it. I mean, if it seems to be a problem, then I'll dig out the measuring tapes and check it out. But generally, it's just a clear cut. I don't always go and check surveys against reality in every case.
Well, I mean, if we have a survey, then I would just 100% trust that myself, even though I'm sure that
But then
every
like,
survey will be on
the
different
surveys,
issues.
all those issues.
I mean, that's not the scale of issue that I'm concerned about. It's really the particularly small lots where, where a little bit of being off has a big impact on you.
Right.
More likely.
You're talking about like a subsequent, the in this case, her 10 feet,
Mhm.
and the property line that we're looking at, you're saying that another property owner from that lot might come back and say, wait a minute, I want to build on this, and now she's encroaching on my property, because she is in my property line,
I think a little bit it's like, if we give a specific variance and it assumes information is provided about where property lines are. If that information turns out to be in error, what does that do to our variance? Because we use specific numbers, and I want to avoid that as much as possible. So I want the greatest accuracy as possible. I mean, within reason. I don't think somebody needs to get a $4,000 survey to build a little 10 by 10, shed on gravel or something. But, but I think that there should be, some reasonable level of care to kind of research and try to figure out as accurately as possible where the property line is.
So, just to make sure I understand,
Mhm.
this proposed form would be an attachment to this?
Yes.
Okay, and what you're basically asking is for people to come with better information initially, so we don't have them come and then we send them away asking them to do.
It's like a user's manual.
Yeah.
See it as
Yeah.
a user's manual.
I think this is really helpful.
So,
And I like that it sets out the standard too, and they can come prepared with the questions to answer.
I mean, oftentimes we have another form that has these things on it, which will retire if we put it on here, but they can fill that out at the time that they apply in general, and we've got it.
the existing application had the backside that no one really used. So
Oh.
let's make it better, and then realize each board should really
Yeah,
have their own sheet.
Yeah,
Right.
right.
I think that will give guidance to people wanting to apply.
Yeah, that's really what I was hoping, and I mean, the location of property lines is the thing that's kind of historically been problematic for me. I don't know if there's anything else that we would always wish we knew always from the beginning.
But I think Chris is right. We have, how many resources how much resources do we have to put into this? You know, I mean,
Well, I think
you don't know. I mean, I'm just happy with it, and I don't know that we've had any litigation or anything about property lines and variances.
No, I mean, I would say that it's often, I would say Jane used to often go out with people and help them locate property lines. I think that was wonderful, but that was sort of above and beyond what I would expect a zoning officer to have to do. But I just, just like you want any kind of drawing, some people have to provide information to document what they want to do. And accuracy about what you own should be a pretty relevant component of that.
I don't think it's above and beyond the CEO to have to go out and check property lines when there's a question like,
How accurate do you think you can get?
I don't know, I've never been trained in these
Yeah.
parts, honestly. I mean, I found pins, and for me, it's like, great, there's a pin.
Yeah.
Done, and that's really the question is finding the pin, because they're supposed to be there, right?
Right. And this would be unusual if you find all the pins. I mean, certainly you're lucky sometimes, but as I was saying before, I mean, there are a number of surveys that are filed with the real property tax office. Maybe your adjacent neighbor has a survey or some background neighbor, you can just go through that exercise and figure out how much, try to figure out and guess at as few things as possible.
So would we vote to approve this? Do we do that? Does the
Well,
board of
what I-
trustees do that?
When I was, as I was sitting before the meeting, I was kind of not changing the information, but I was thinking formatting wise and trying to kind of list it a little bit differently so people could kind of not with a place to check off, but, try to break out things into kind of smaller pieces of information. And then tomorrow, there's actually a meeting of the group that's looking at all these little sub-forms. And so I was hoping to have it to kind of add to that pile. So I wanted to just see if there's any additional things that,
Can I say something? I mean, this is, you can just tell me to shut up, and I will.
No, I won't.
But, well, no, you will. I have a thing about our public relations, okay, because I'm probably the only person who feels this way. And I think a lot of people have a sour taste in their mouth about coming to us, but all boards. And, I think this is the horrible bureaucracy, and I had to do this and that and the other thing. So I would like to make it more user-friendly.
Okay.
So this is, super rough draft, but this is sort of what I would like to just do. A variance is like giving an exception to the law, so we have to do it judiciously. A variance is a permanent change to a property. It's not something granted to an owner. Therefore, we're required to have a public hearing for any area variance. In preparation for that, it's always a good idea to let your neighbors know about your plans well in advance. Since the areas for which you're requesting a variance are all defined by property lines, we need documentation of where the relevant property line or lines are. A survey is best, but on-site verification of boundary markers is also usable. And you can throw in get your deed, your neighbor's survey. Using that property line information, draw a layout of your proposed project, including what buildings are already there, so we can see all the distances from the property lines. We also need to know the height above grade of the part of your proposed structure that's within the setback. The section of the law quoted below is our guidance to make the decision. We must use these guidelines and not our friendships or passions. No one question has priority over others, but we need to be able to explain our decision and sometimes defend it. It helps us if the applicant would write a response to each question as well. So, to me, I mean, that's kind of not, I mean, it's kind of loosey-goosey and it's not like formal, but, I think it's less intimidating than the super formal form. You know, we will have a public hearing. You know what I mean? Like, it's intimidating.
I agree. It also explains why we're having the public hearing. It's
Right.
not like,
Right.
what is a public hearing? Why am I having it?
I like that part. I would say that I've seen in some of the other boards forums on their own issues, and they're not at all like that. They're much more
Well, they
like-
all should be that way. I think we get a bad rap and we don't deserve it. And I want people to be comfortable. I've always felt this way. I want people to feel comfortable and, you know, you hear people saying, "Oh, yeah. Public, why can't I just put my shed up? I've got to do this and that. And they didn't want my truck. You know, well,
Yeah.
hey, this is why.
Yeah,
Work with us. And you can also put in, you know, if you have any questions, the CEO can help you. I mean, that's maybe opening a door we don't want to open, but, no,
I mean, mostly, I would be the one giving this piece of paper to the applicant instead of signing it. So they should know that the CEO is here to help. I won't be in the street. But I mean, if you want to add that, fine. But by the time you get to this document, I will have been such a part of their lives.
So anyway, so I told you you didn't want to hear this.
I like a lot of that. I don't know how it works with all the other forms, and it is
What
a
other
piece
forms?
application, and people are going to HBAR, and there'll be an HBAR form.
Well, so what? This is our user manual for an area variance. This is our daily way. HBAR can do what they want. If they want to be intimidating,
You
that's
have another
fine.
copy here?
No, it's my own, I mean, it's on my computer.
Okay, I'll take it. All right, well, let me,
I think we just were off the cuff.
Well, he was very impressed.
Not so much now.
But, you know, so let's okay, that's my angle, PR.
can I change like we's to the ZBA?
Okay, yeah, I like the we part. I was thinking, we really hear your application. Could you help us? No, but yes, okay.
All right, well, I will possibly send another text out there or another email tonight to, if I do this when I get home. And basically marry this with this part too.
Yeah.
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 All right, I'll see if I can do that, because we have a meeting tomorrow.
Right.
All right, good. Thank you. So let's get back to kind of the main part of our stuff. The other thing I would say is, and this relates more for special permits, so I'll have to see how that sheet, I think the planning board's working on that one. But also with so many applications, parking is shown without any sense of a minimum parking lots. I mean, I don't trust an awful lot of them because,
And looks like they just put toy cars on it.
Well,
Yeah.
one said, it's 20 feet long and it's not
Yeah.
quite,
and if it's existing parking, that's one thing, but it's new parking that when it's, iffy and it's like, you don't know if it's really big enough and certainly how you're gonna back out,
Right.
And we have physical dimensions in the law,
Yeah.
widths of driveways and widths of, or size of parking lots, and
So
so we have to have a way to verify.
You have a feeling that, how should I say, we've been bamboozled or we're lax on it, or we're not, we don't have a handle on that?
I think it often comes in and then we say we need more specific, it often does not come in with the information with the degree of kind of care, I would say,
Oh, okay.
you know, when we first get it. And
Ah.
then we have to either decide we're gonna live with it, or we have to send it back and, you know, request other information. And oftentimes it's the zoning officer who
Yeah.
has to take a role in providing that, which is,
And which is fine, I've measured driveways and parking
Mhm.
spaces, and I remember there was one, we had a person that said it was 20 feet long, and it would have been had there not been like whatever, some air conditioning device in the way.
Yeah.
So it's, especially for parking, which is the main issue with so many of these special permits, we have to check them very closely, and I think we do. I don't think the people submitting
Yeah.
have been as careful, but this will help them understand that.
so would you say that's typical that you would have reviewed parking before it comes to us the first time? You would look into the site?
I mean, it just depends. I mean, ideally, yes.
Yeah.
It sort of depends, as in some cases where someone's got a big parking lot, it's only in cases where it's like, okay, is this gonna work? Let's check this out. And I should, but when it's dead obvious, as it is in some cases, you know,
Okay.
that we have it, you know.
So, I mean, for me, I guess, most everything that comes to us has a public hearing, and everybody's in a hurry, and we want to facilitate the review to be as quick as possible. So we often set up public hearings even when we're missing 2 or 3 little pieces of information or verification list. So the more information, the more that you or the zoning officer can be, not put it on the agenda until they've had, you know, if they got it in late, then maybe they don't have, maybe that's a deal breaker, you know, or like, but if it came in, you know, with enough time for you to kind of, if there's any question, I mean, sometimes you can tell that they're done carefully, but when they're done without any real regard to scale and accuracy, you know, then it needs,
Yeah, I agree.
it'd be good to have that help before, because in the best of all possible worlds, we would have every bit of information we need before we set up a public hearing. Because we don't, you know, but I know that we often set it up missing a couple of pieces because they don't want to delay people.
Even what might seem frivolous, like we need the height because that's part of what we regulate. And, you know, we know it's not 30 feet. We should get all the ducks in a row because that's where our job is.
Okay. All right. All right. Any other thoughts or comments?
I'm still confused about, let's say you have a property line, okay? This board is being asked to get a variance.
Right.
I don't know, let's say I don't know, is the variance by definition 35 feet?
Only in, like, sometimes
Let's
the requirement is 5 feet and somebody needs 3.5 feet, or they only have 3.5 feet. So sometimes it's literally a foot or 6 inches, whatever,
Fair enough.
that accuracy.
Whatever it is, you have a property line.
Yep.
This board is being asked to give a variance of that, whatever the setback is,
Right.
correct?
So that you can build
Okay.
some portion within the
Now,
setback.
you have a property line, and the applicant comes in and says, I want a variance from, for what I think the property line is, whatever, of X feet or inches, whatever it is. This board scrutinizes those 5 mandates, okay? But, and you make a determination based on those 5 mandates. You don't make a determination based on where the property line is. Right? So if the property line is, the applicant comes in and says the property line's here, or they don't even say that. They just say, I want a variance from the property line. We're not even scrutinizing where the property line is. I don't know if that's this board's mission, to scrutinize that. Because what happens when the...
It's an assumption.
Okay.
That
But does this board go out there and do the survey themselves, look up for the pins themselves and say, okay, you want a variance from the property line, we're gonna tell you where the property line is, and we'll determine whether the variance is approved or not, based on that property line. I don't think this board does that. I think this board, it doesn't matter where the property line is. All this board is doing is saying, wherever the property line is, we're giving the variance or not for this setback, where we're changing the setback.
I think that you're right, that basically the burden is on the owner, but we also, without a reasonable amount of care, the owner will multiple owners will regularly make errors, and we want to reduce those errors if we have, I think, yeah, it's good for the village to have minimal errors between neighbors.
I see what you're saying, that we're basically saying from that line, you've got 3 feet, and wherever that line is, that's what we're saying, and if you got that wrong, you made a mistake, we did. I get that, but I also hear very much what Susan's saying is that to prevent that, even though it's not our responsibility to get a survey, produce all that information for the applicant,
Well, let's
they're
say,
supposed to do it, and it's my job to kind of help them, like, in some cases.
fine, but what is that going to do with this mission of this board? Let's say that the property owner is in error. Let's say that the applicant is in error with the property line. Does this board say, we're not going to grant your variance because you're in error of where your property line is? It doesn't make sense to me.
I don't think it's that so much, but I think, so they build it in error, then, and the next door neighbor, objects or something like that.
No, the next door neighbor has a public hearing. That's why I say about notice.
But everyone's but they may be out of town, they may have, missed that note, or whatever. I'm just saying, I think also what can happen is like, what you're thinking of is like whole new construction. If you have a building that already exists and somebody wants to add 5 feet to it, and you say that that's going to be 3 feet from the property line. So if that property line's, what if it's off by 3 feet and you're building into a neighbor's property? Sometimes you can't leave the burden on the applicant to just move it over if they learn better. You've given a variance that actually is conditioned on some existing building and an existing property line that has some, inaccuracy or, unknown aspect to it. So you can also have situations like that.
Yeah.
Well, we want accuracy because I think I see what you're saying. We just want accuracy so we can orient ourselves and know what we're doing. But, yeah, what is our real requirement for it? Okay, first, I don't want to be in a situation where are we going to be deciding, everybody has to give a survey? But, so that would be sort of the other extreme. But I kind of see what he means. Why bother?
Well, no, I think ultimately it wouldn't be the village problem, but I don't think that I think that if we ask for a little bit more rigor, we're going to likely reduce the number of those issues that ever happen to begin with, which is better for.
Let's say that they're off by a foot or 2 feet, whatever it is. Are they then going to say, okay, originally they want a 10-foot variance, right? And now we know that their property line is different. Now they're going to be asking for an 8-foot variance. And, right?
They're probably going to build it, and it will be non-conforming because it will be in excess of the variance we granted.
No, they're not going to build it, so you give them permission to build it
Well,
with a variance.
that's what we did today. But then if they had inaccurate information when they were developing their application, and they continued and they didn't get it corrected, and they built it, then they may encroach more than what we granted, so then
And it's not conforming.
Well, that's always the case, because who says that when Megan goes out and builds a shed, she's not gonna put a 16-foot shed on there? And, you're never gonna know if people are complying with the variance until it's brought up. That's,
I need to go to the welcome home thing.
Okay.
So I think there's something that is, we don't do a lot of post-work checkup, I think, and that's true, and I don't think we have the resources, but we sort of hand it up to the county and they check out, the building from that point forward, but yeah, if someone were trying to sneak in a large shed, you know, yeah.
well, whatever.
Monitoring of a small town, it's a lucky thing of a small village, we all sort of,
Yeah, a lot of our enforcement is complaint based.
not much gets by the watchful eyes of Cooperstown's
That's true.
often retired, on the other hand, neighbors who
Yeah.
look out the windows and watch their so I'm not so worried, but those who don't necessarily know what was true. So, like,
Yeah.
notice a shed going up, it's 3 feet bigger, and I check what I can, but I don't rigorously check that everything is being built as
Yeah.
is
Allowed.
supposed to be, yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess I just sort of, I punt to the Wilson County, when now they've got the plans, they're gonna go and see.
But they
what's
don't
built.
care about setbacks, though. They care about, you know,
It's true, but if the county got plans for like an addition, and the plans, were, you know, several feet wider than what was approved into the setback, like, they're not gonna just say, oh, the concrete's good enough, they're gonna say, these aren't the approved plans.
what if it's like a foot bigger? I don't think they're gonna.
Yeah, I
They're
mean,
not
I
gonna
guess.
care.
Well, but, you know, we're looking at
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm sure things do slip through the cracks, and
errors.
we were more watchful, we maybe could catch them. But
I guess
This
I-
would require more hours,
yeah.
for the person doing the job.
I mean, I guess I just hope that with the applicant, particularly with some assistance from the zoning officer, can develop the information in a reasonably accurate way, as accurate as possible, and then we work from there.
Yeah.
I just don't think we've always had anything remotely like that once in a while, and that's what I want to avoid. All right, well, I will work with this. Thank you very much.
We have minutes or minutes. Yeah, actually, can we do minutes?
Two sets of minutes.
We've got August. Oh, August is okay, what was the one?
July
September,
we
July?
can do, because the three of us are here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's July.
August, we can do both those.
Is everybody ready or?
I have.
July? So, yeah, I have it.
Okay,
I mean, I was gonna make a motion, but other people need to read it. But it was, oh, it was, you, me, and
so the
Dave.
three of us, have you? I know I read that one.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes from July 1st of 2025 as presented.
I accept it.
Okay, second. All those in favor? All right. And then this next one is me, Marcy, and Victor.
Yes.
So
Have
have you-
you marked anything on this?
Have you had a chance to look at this one?
I did,
Well, short.
It's not very long.
what was this?
That was for September.
Last month, yeah.
This one's for September?
Yeah. And that's, it was,
This was just the application, right? So-
Yeah.
yeah, that was the,
Just
what do
a
they call it, a preliminary. Preliminary.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right, motion,
So we make a motion to accept the minutes of September 2nd, 2025 as presented.
all right, is there a second?
I'll second it.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, good. All right.
Yeah.
motion to adjourn?
Yeah, motion to adjourn?
I'll motion.
Okay, second?
All in favor, aye.
Yes.
Have you ever looked on YouTube to see when this comes up?
Yeah.
Wait, do they hear us? Do they,
It depends.
what's it like?
I'm not very good about that.